Seema Malhotra.
Mr Speaker, the TUC estimates that 3.6 million people, 1 worker in 9, were in insecure work ahead of the coronavirus outbreak, leaving them exposed to massive drops in income or unsafe working conditions. It was bad then and it's worse now. The government's driven the own author of its Taylor Review to say in quite extraordinary terms that the government has lost its enthusiasm for enforcing workers' rights. With no employment bill yet on the horizon, isn't this now the plain truth for all to see? Whose side is the government on?
State.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Well, I'll take no lessons from the Honourable Lady about workers' rights and what this government has done over many years to protect workers' rights. The national living wage is higher than it's ever been before in this country's history. We've taken thousands of people out of tax, and I'm not going to take any lectures from her.
Right, we now go to Tony Lloyd. Tony.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. If the Secretary of State won't take lessons from my honourable friend for Feltham and Heston, will he take lessons from the TUC, who estimate that it's amongst young people and black and Asian workers that fire and rehire is most likely to take place? Or will he take lessons from Go North West, who sacked its workforce in Greater Manchester, offered them increased hours of work, loss of sick pay, and a reduction in annual pay of £2,500. Is this what the Secretary of State wants to make Britain the best place in the world for work?
State.
I appreciate the honourable gentleman's question, and he will know that I take my my conversations with the TUC extremely seriously. I've met a number of TUC leaders since taking the post 2 months ago, and I'm very, very conscious about how the fire and rehire issue as a negotiating tactic is completely unacceptable.
We now come to Shadow Minister Andy MacDonald.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. The Minister says he doesn't take lessons from Labour. This is from the man who described the British as the worst idlers in the world. Mr Speaker, the Supreme Court ruling that Uber drivers are workers, rejecting the company's claim that its drivers are self-employed, sets a precedent for all gig economy workers who will also be entitled to the minimum wage, holiday pay and sick pay. But it took Uber drivers 6 long years of legal action to have their rights recognised. The government mustn't abandon the 3 million adults in the UK working in the gig economy to spend years fighting in the courts. So let me ask the Minister, will he commit to introducing legislation in this session of Parliament to ensure that all gig economy workers receive basic employment rights?
Thank you, sir. As I said earlier, in response to an earlier question, we are going to be introducing an employment bill, not this session, but when parliamentary time allows. And we're also, of course, considering the effects of this extremely important Supreme Court ruling, and we're considering options to improve clarity around employment status.